Hello, and welcome to another episode of Physical Format Rock and Roll, where we talk about all things rock and roll and classic metal. I'm Gary, and today I have a guest host.
My name's Alex.
And it's my son.
So hello.
So this is an episode of what I like to call overlooked gems. So we'll pick an artist and we'll pick an album of theirs and talk about it a little bit. One that is probably not as well known as some of their other material. Not a big selling album. Probably one they don't necessarily do a bunch of stuff off of in concert, but an album that we think is definitely worth you checking out if you get the time. So I asked Alex if he would guest host this with me, and we decided what artist we were going to do is Alice Cooper, because we're both fans of Alice. We've seen him I've seen him many times. I took Alex to see it when he was younger, and when I asked him what album I said, what album do you think we should do? Because I had one in my mind already, or a couple. And he mentioned the two albums. He goes, well, either this one or that one. And they were both the same albums that was in my head. We hadn't discussed it. And I said, well, that's great. I said, let's just do both of them. It only makes sense. It's worthwhile to check it out. So we divided it up, which albums we're going to do. And Alex is going to go first.
All right, so my album pick is Along Came a Spider. So this one came out in 2008, so definitely newer as far as Alice's career goes, obviously. So it's one of the reasons I love it the most is it's the entire, from start to finish. There's none of those songs on here that are kind of like throwaway songs. I love every song on this album, and every song kind of plays an important part because the album is like a story from start to finish.
Concept album.
Right. So it opens up with the, even has like the eerie prologue, the, voice kind of setting it up that, it's about a serial killer and all that, but goes right into, first song, I Know Where You Live. Great older sounding, kind of rock song. Second song, Vengeance Is Mine, definitely a little bit heavier than some of the other songs on here. Probably the heaviest on this album, I would say. And then right into Wake the Dead, which has one of my favorite guitar riffs as far as some different songs that Alice has done. Just the effect on there is pretty cool. I love the intro to that. So this is my favorite because like I said, it's like start to finish so great. I would say it's my favorite album since Brutal Planet. And I would probably say even after this album, I know he's had some after this, like Welcome to My Nightmare 2. And I would say I still like this album more than that. So I would say, really post Brutal Planet, this is my favorite album. I know I've only seen Alice once in concert. And the kind of bad thing was, it was amazing, but as far as this album, we saw him on the tour that he did right after he had finished the tour for this album.
Yeah.
So he didn't, it's not like he played a lot off of it, but he did still play Vengeance Is Mine, which really, it's still, though, even with all his older stuff that he did and, different things, it fits in very well with his set list, all of it.
And that is actually one of the things I love about Alice Cooper, and that keeps me going to see him in concert, is because, obviously, Alice has some songs he's got to do live, right? He's got to do School's Out, Under My Wheels, 18, a lot of that stuff. But he always, kind of like the Rolling Stones do, he always has, he throws in 3 or 4 songs, or more sometimes, that are from, you don't know where they're going to come from what generation. It could be early out, it could be 70s, early 70s stuff. It could be the later 70s, very early 80s, where he kind of started to go a little new wave and type of thing, or the mid 70s, where it's kind of more of his almost Broadway kind of stuff, to the pop metal of the 80s, to the brutal Planet, the industrial metal, I mean, just, you don't know what he's going to throw in there. And that's great. That's what I love about it, about Alice, is, there's going to be something for that hardcore fan out there that's like, yes, I wanted to hear that one live. I totally respect Alice for doing that, because for him to do that, that means he's got to take, some hit, a couple of hits and not play them, because he's going to play something else. But I always feel like when artists do that, it's like a tip of the hat to their fans, to their hardcore fans. They're saying, hey, look, we know the majority of the people out here, a lot of them are just here to hear those same songs. But we know, I know that there's a handful of you guys, out there that see me all the time. These songs are for you. Something that Kiss makes me angry about is that they just don't do enough of that. They don't think that that's important. I've heard Paul Stanley say, well, why would we do some songs that people are going to go out and get a beer for or whatever? It's like, you do it for the fans that have been there through the lean years. That's why you do it. You respect your fans. Alice respects his fans by doing that. Anyway, I'm getting way off track here. I think that's a whole nother show. I apologize. I also apologize. The lighting is not that good. We're filming this in a basement here. We got a bunch of stuff going on, and we figured this was the most quiet space for us to do it. But everything that Alex just said about the Along Came a Spider album, I agree with. Pretty much, I think it's the best thing that he has done since the Brutal Planet album. It's better than anything he has done after it, whether it's the Paranormal album, the Welcome to My Nightmare 2 or whatever. Anyway, another album that we think is worth you giving a look for that didn't get quite enough love is Dirty Diamonds. All right, this, you know what? I don't know. Can you see what year that came out?
It was 2005, so it was actually the album right before this, so these were back to back.
Yeah, I thought it was. I knew it was right in that time period. So this came out in 2005, so already 15 years old. But still, it's not like Killer or something like that. But this is one that definitely has kind of like, this has a little bit heavier sound to it than what this one does. This definitely has a 70s vibe, kind of like the album Eyes of Alice Cooper, which is another good album, I think. That could have been thrown on here too, really. But this is really good. First of all, the song itself, the title track, Dirty Diamonds, to me, it's just a classic Alice Cooper song, man. That sound of it, it's got from that little weird beginning sound going on there that sounds like some kind of 60s spy movie, to the song itself. It's like, in my mind, he can be doing Under My Wheels, and then boom, just throw this in there, and then boom, something off of there, and it's just all, like Alex said, it's just going to flow seamlessly. So this is a really good one. It's also got A Woman of Mass Distraction, which he has played live before. I've heard him play that one before, so he does throw that in there sometimes. You Make Me Wanna, and then Perfect, which is another one of those. It's kind of just an odd song, but the two songs on here that are definitely Alice Cooper's kind of songs that only he could do. The Saga of Jessie Jane, which, that's a great song. If you haven't heard it, you need to listen to it. It's definitely an Alice Cooper song. He's got that old low voice that he uses for it too. It's hilarious. Pretty Ballerina is one of those odd sounding kind of songs, and that's definitely a really cool one too. The difference with this album and that one is kind of like Alex said, I think this one's just solid. This is a top to bottom solid album. And this one does have a few clunkers on it. Toward the end, some of the songs are not necessarily that great, but overall, definitely a good album worth picking up. So if you're an Alice Cooper fan, and maybe you haven't bought albums by him for quite a while, you only like some of the older stuff or whatever, or I know a lot of people out there, they just quit buying newer music from older artists, and these shows are here to encourage you to give some of those old artists a chance. Some of these artists have still been putting out music. The radio's not going to play it. Classic rock radio sucks, okay? They have no imagination whatsoever. They give up on the artists that they're playing. Don't do that. These artists are still creating some great music, so give it a chance. So once again, our recommendations are A Long Game of Spider and Dirty Diamonds. I recommend, give them a chance. Any comments below would be great. If some of you out there would like to suggest to other people albums you think are overlooked gems, by all means do it. Alice has plenty of them. Any comments would be great. If anybody'd like to subscribe, that'd be awesome. So until next time, I'm Gary.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Physical Format Rock and Roll.